So again, welcome to CMAG Connection Session number one. Today is Friday, March 7th, 2025. Again, thank you to everyone for attending our first session. Carly, can you pull up the agenda for us, please? Perfect. So we got a pretty thick agenda here. We're going to do a CJE presidential announcement. That we're going to do staff introductions, so you get to know us better. We'll talk about the Construction Management Info Center. Um, Britton will be taking care of that. We'll talk about the Smartsheet CM tool, the BNI Simplest. We'll talk about CMAG. We'll talk about new training opportunities, and then we'll open it up for discussion. So, Carly, without further ado, let's go to the first slide, please. And I believe this is you.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick note about the Center for Job Excellence for anybody that's interested. There are two chapters, one in the north and one in the south. And I am the president of the Southern California chapter. And I saw Ian Irvine's on the call today. He is part of the board also for the Southern California chapter. You can always reach out to us at that email, socal@jobexcellence.org. Regarding anything that you want to know about the Center for Job Excellence, kind of what we do, our quarterly meetings, or how to get that certification. And then Paul Burns, he's the president of the Northern California chapter, so you can reach him at that email, norcal@jobexcellence.org. Same thing for the Northern campuses that want to get involved with the Center for Job Excellence. That's it.
Hey, Carly, really quick question. What's the cutoff, right? So where does it cut off at Bakersfield and then go south, or Bakers and so forth? How does that?
It's totally up to the campus. For these chapters, we have a lot of people that register for all chapters, especially since a lot of what we do is on Zoom, and for contractors too, that travel the whole state, that work in the whole state. It's totally up to the campus which chapter they want to join, or they can join both.
It's true. So Carly actually brings up a good point. Our first event coming up, and I think we have a slide for it later, is going to be next Wednesday, and we're doing actually a co-event with Northern California. We're Southern California, Carly and I, but we're going to do a co-event. So it's all of California that'll be talking about JOC, and it actually gives it sets up kind of like a roundtable to talk to other agencies and see about how they do JOC. I know Port of Long Beach is going to be there. We're hoping to get more campuses involved, but it's more of a roundtable, talking to contractors, talking to consultants, and really not just getting, with all my JOC huddles, not just that perspective, but getting perspectives from other owners too about how they run their JOC programs.
Thank you.
So without further ado, I'm going to hand it. I think almost everybody is here on this call you're going to get to see their profile pic and kind of get to know a little bit more about them. So Tim, I'm going to hand it over to you first.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I want to stress the fact that this set of meetings is set up for campuses. This isn't intended just for us to push information out, but we really like the majority of it to be spent on dialogue and issues coming up from campuses, and then sharing that information among everybody on that. So I run construction services, and I'm still the stepfather of the Office of Fire Safety, and continuing to develop that in there. All our different divisions, and we do answer the phone. That's probably our single most important task for everybody underneath us on there. My real focus right now is on the really large projects, or the ones that get very ugly. Next.
Kevin Lout, I believe he's on the call. Kevin?
Yep. Hey guys, I'm Kevin Lout, Director of Construction Management. So I work for Tim and oversee construction managers doing work at the Chancellor's office, as well as across around the system. And I try to make kind of our main hat as, or seeing our role as kind of the honeybee role, is we have a lot of experts across the system. And the more that we can share information and lessons learned and best practices between campuses, and then also incorporate those improvements into our documents so that we can avoid those same things in the future, I see that as one of the most important things we do. So anytime that you guys have any comments or improvements or other things, feel free to share. And this meeting that we're doing here, and the sequence of meeting, is really going to be intended in the future for a lot of sharing. So today we're going to do a lot of talking, but hopefully and the rest of them will do very little talking and a little more facilitating, but also listening so that we can improve our systems and processes and tools to make things better for all the projects moving forward. So thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. And off to Britton.
Hi, I'm Britton Moreau. I'm the Principal Construction Program Manager. I'm primarily responsible for policy and procedure development. You may know me from the CRB Capital Outlay Management Plans and all my wonderful reminder emails. I also manage and update general conditions and policy, and then I've been working feverishly with Carly and Andrea on the construction website design and delivery methods. We're going to be updating all of the web pages, so that's been a fun task, and all the forms we're reviewing right now. Construction contractor evaluations, we got that into Smartsheet. I am your go-to person on that as well. And the library, I hope you're all using that contractor library when you're going to award your contracts or consider awarding to a contractor from the past. And then I have been championing the PMO Smartsheet solution for construction management. I've been championing that with Kelly Cox, who also works at the Chancellor's office. And I'm going to present on that in a little bit here. A brief presentation, very high level, very quick. It will not bore you, but it will be amazing if you want to get some more training on that later.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Britton. I believe Andrea Rivas is out today, but she's pretty awesome too. She's the construction manager for Chancellor's Office tenant improvement. She's the liaison for pilot construction projects, and she helps out with the construction services training. Next. Oh, that's me. Look at that guy. Man, I look bald in this picture. You gotta put some hair on there or something. That's pretty serious. I'm the program manager for the system-wide jock contracts. You guys probably all know me from my jock huddles. With the help of Carly Good, we put out about over 30 regional jock contracts annually. I'm also the construction manager for the tenant improvements. Got a big project going on at the Chancellor's office today and this weekend. I'm a training specialist, and I'm also here to support campuses. If you've got questions, comments, or concerns, you can steer them towards me. Next. Edward, I believe you're on the call.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. You guys might recognize me from a commercial that used to advertise for 21 Jump Street.
Oh, now you're talking.
I was the toe tag on one of the commercials. But now I'm responsible for all things related to construction insurance. So if there's any question with BRIP enrollment or OSIP enrollment, reach out, assisting with some of the contract general condition additions and updates, utility issues, especially with third-party utility issues, and any right of entry coordination. I've been assisting with that. And any off-the-wall public works procurement issues, as a team, we kind of respond to that. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Next up, Terry Carr, who, Carly, is she on the call? Do you know? Terry, you out there? Yes.
I am here.
Awesome. Yay.
Good morning. I'm Terry Carr. I've been with the Chancellor's office for 21 years, going on 22. Like Edward, I do take care of the insurance programs, primarily the BRIP enrollments and enrollment through Medivim. My main, I would say, responsibility is for pre-qualification of contractors and assisting campuses with any of their advertising, if they have any questions, scheduling, whatnot, and any questions you may have. You can come to me, and if I don't have the answer, because you will hear I'm a know-it-all, that I don't think they meant that in a positive way, but if I don't have an answer, I can certainly direct you.
Perfect. Thanks, Terry. You said you've been here for 21 years. Does that mean that your career can now drink or no?
Yes, I'm legally able to do all that fun stuff that all of you youngers can do.
Perfect. Next up.
That's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Carly Good. As you heard previously, I help Jeremy with the jock. I'll go to that second bulletin. The procurement of the jock program for the regional contracts. Also took the lead on the jock pre-qualification administration, moving it to Planet Bid, and also and kind of your go-to at the transfer's office for MetaBIM, just as the system-wide administrator, and then also assisting Britton with that Smartsheet PMO solution that she'll talk about a little bit later on. That's it. Atuza, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Hey.
I am a administrative support coordinator, excuse me, for mainly OFS, but I am working with construction services as well, and more support for construction services and trying to more grow out the OFS department. Everything that comes with that, all the new hires, all the development of everything that hopefully makes it run a lot smoother, especially as we gain more responsibilities from the state. We're getting more GovModus access, things like that. So that'll be really fun and very exciting.
Perfect. Thank you, Atuza. And last but not least, and I'm not sure, I think she may actually be in class right now. Kristen, are you on the call? She is not. Kristen Rincon is our student assistant, jack of all trades, totally awesome. She's actually been with us for, I think, like 2.5 or almost 3 years. Big help. Unfortunately, she's graduating in May. Well, good for her that she's graduating in May, but she helped us all out with our crazy task that we asked her, everything from formatting to record keeping. But she's definitely awesome, and we will miss her as she graduates from Cal State Long Beach this coming May. All right, Carly, next slide, please. So this is Britton. Back to you.
All right, sending my request to share my screen. Sure. Okie dokie. So this is the tool I was talking about. A lot of you are you seeing my screen yet?
Yes.
I'm going to share the right one because it doesn't have a green box around it.
Oh, yeah, we see it. You're good.
Okay. That's so weird that it doesn't have a green box around it. Okay, so you are looking at the work apps of Smartsheet for the CSU construction project management solution, construction management, project management. Initially, this was introduced to you all for CSUN's solution. They were the first people to go out there and try to use Smartsheets for their construction management and project management tool. But we went ahead and beefed it up with Smartsheet and added some more to it, right? Some dashboards, some schedule assistance, and some other fun elements. So what you're looking at here, and again, I'm going to go pretty quickly here. We do have training on this. I'm happy to receive phone calls and walk you all through it too. But what you're looking at here is a list of projects that have been submitted thus far. The idea is that any project manager, or really anybody, could come in here and do a new project submission. You would fill all your information out here, just a form that all of you should recognize because it's the same type of format as it is for the CRB and the contractor evaluations. But there's lots of cool questions here that you answer. And once you answer all these questions to submit your project, you go ahead and submit it, and it would show up on this project intake form, or this project intake sheet, if you will. So I can see all the projects because I'm at the chancellor's office, but if you are at this project list. So if you're at Bakersfield, you're just going to see the projects for Bakersfield, Dominguez Hills, San Bernardino, whatever campus you're on, you're only going to see those projects. So it'll be a little less complicated. So we're going to dive into Jeremy's project here at the chancellor's office. So I would select this, but to save the processing time, I already have it open. So here we go. It would take you straight to the project dashboard. So this is a fun glimpse of everything you need to know about your project. As a project manager, construction manager, just kind of getting in there and saying, what do I need to know quickly? So quickly, you've got all your project name and information up here. Had he filled all that information in, it would be there. You have your support and feedback. You can always send a question that goes directly to myself or Smartsheets or Kelly Cox. Carly and Arnold will also be seeing that because they're going to be helping with triaging any questions that come through. So anytime you see this question mark on any of these pages, just know you're reaching somebody at the chancellor's office. But anyhow, so the dashboard is just basically a quick project overview. You've got your key dates in here, your project health, which allows for RFIs, open RFIs, urgent RFIs. All these colors will show up if Jeremy were to have other RFIs. Inspections under review, issues open, non-compliance issues. You can also toggle off. So had he had purple and blue, I would just see the purple. So that's kind of fun. It shows you the delivery method that he chose when he, initiated his project. There's all these different forms that he can use to submit information, like the change request form. So I would select this, and this would show up, yet another form that you can fill out. Once he fills out his change order request, it actually just populates over here on one of these many sheets. Change order sheet. If it was a daily work log, it would populate on that daily work log sheet. But let's go ahead and go into the change orders. And you can see he has some change orders here that are pretty well detailed. Change order field instruction. There's lots of different columns, lots of different fields for him to start tracking all his change orders and how that impacts his budget, right? And really his schedule as well. So going back to the dashboard, you can see those change orders are going to be reflected down here too. So he's got his project budget. Right now he has this much committed and this much remaining of his awarded amount. The definitions are here. Again, you can toggle off if you just want to see certain, just the committed funds. Toggle back on, maybe, yes. He's got contracts that he's populated that are going to show up on this sheet here. So he has all of his contracts in here. I think Kelly probably helped him with that. I'm not really sure. Maybe he did it all on his own. He is amazing. Who knows? But there's a lot of data fields here that can be populated. Come back in here for our project dashboard. Again, so that's showing all of his contracts. He's got invoiced amount versus the contract balance. So again, you've got your, you're looking at your big project budget, your total approved budget. You're invoicing. What does that mean? What do you have left on your contract? Shows you right there, quick and easy with Taylor Engineering. You don't even have to dive into it unless you want to over here. By all means, have fun. Then we also have contract changes. We all know that no project is perfect, so there's going to be change orders, right? So he has 11% increase shown here for ACCO Engineered Systems. Athena has a 30% increase. And over here, this wonderful pie chart, which is my favorite, gets to show you what the classification is of those change orders. So 18% are unforeseeable conditions, feeling pretty good about that scope of work, right? Maybe errors, if the 82% errors, however, it is a rather small, value, it does make you wonder, right? So you could dig into that. You can go into the change orders, start looking at what are the change orders? What's the subject? What's going on? Other classifications here that could have shown up had he had them would be error, omission, agency regulation, So just ways to kind of dissect the dashboard as you're, project managing, right? Things to observe. Got your individual contracts down here. Just a quick glimpse. Again, a different way to look at it. Different way to look at your change requests. You've got the status is going to glare at you that perhaps something is pending. This is in your court. You need to get it done. Schedules. He can see that he's completed some of these tasks. He can dive into the project schedule for more to it, or he can kind of scroll through here if he wants to. Open RFIs. He doesn't have any RFIs, but had he had RFIs, he could see if they were open or urgent or closed or whatever may come up here. Inspection requests, submittals and review. There's lots of fun value to this for a project manager and construction manager to use. Meeting minutes, but everything is more detailed on these sheets. This is just the dashboard. All right, so moving along, we could go through all these sheets, but there is no time for that. So This is the internal view. So this is Jeremy's view and anybody that he elects on his internal project team. Right now, apparently it's just Tony. The external view, which you could toggle right here, or we could go here since I already opened it up. External is for the contractor or anybody you don't want to have a view of budget or some other sensitive items that the CSU doesn't want to share. So the external view is a little bit more limited. They still have access to put in, requests for punch list submission, requests, RFIs, inspection requests, change order requests, warranty, whatnot. They still have all that, but they don't have many more. They only have these 2 sheets to dive into. And then their dashboard is a lot more limited as well. Okay. Something to note, anybody can also, and anybody can actually tag somebody and it will actually send them a message right in here. You've got a submittal that we need you to respond to. Contractor XYZ gets an email in his regular old contractor email, doesn't have to be CSU, says, okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and get in there and I'm going to submit this, or I'm going to answer this, whatever it may be. It's flawless. It's amazing. All right, moving along. So then we have, what's really cool are the university dashboards. So this is Bakerfield's dashboard, their university level. I would have shown you ours, but we only have one project, so it's not very exciting. But going back to this whole project list, this is what I selected. Now, if I was Bakersfield, I would have this and any Bakersfield projects. This, just having the campus name, takes me to the university level dashboard. So that is summing up all the projects that Bakersfield has. So you can see they've got 1 canceled, 2 in progress, 2 not started. This would be in my opinion, this is more for reporting up the chain to the EFOs or whoever else that they need to report up the chain to. That person can get into the university dashboard and they can see like a quick summary of all their projects, what's going on, how much money does Bakersfield have, remaining on all their projects, how much money is committed. The EFO can dig more into this. Change orders, they can see how healthy all their projects are right now. These were all unforeseeable conditions. Maybe that triggers something in the EFO's mind. Maybe they see that it was an omission so that they can kind of understand perhaps where maybe training needs are needed. You can look at it from lots of different approaches. Again, this is a very quick overview. RFIs, count by status, safety notices. I love this one. Everybody wants to know about safety. They want to know about days impacted. As the university level, as the EFO, as the EHS, as whomever's running this campus that cares about the safety of the contractors and the safety of their employees, right here, this will tell you how safe is your campus running, right? How safe is your construction department running? So I really love this one. And then there's a lot more to it. Okay, and then there is the dashboard for CBDC, which is supposed to take up all of the projects on all of the campuses. And it's just a quick overview. It allows us to kind of like look in here and get some good dates. If we had schedule variance, if we knew that Bakersfield had a lot of schedule variance, maybe we call Bakersfield and say, hey, is there anything we can do to help you, right? Safety is definitely going to be on here. Financials are on here. If Kelly's on the call, she can chime in on that one. We've got RFIs. Again, safety notices at the chancellor's office. We are very interested in which campuses are being safe. There's going to be a more robust safety program coming down the line. So lots of, awards and claps and, just identifying the amazing campuses that are keeping everybody safe. And then there's other items on here that are going to allow us not to reach out to you too often for metrics, right? For reports. And that is it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions? Sorry, I was supposed to only do 5 minutes. I don't know what I did.
Britton, totally awesome. Thanks for all the information. You and Kelly have built out a great system here, but you already do have a couple of questions. From
Okay.
Kathleen Davis from San Diego. There's a lot more questions coming in. How do we access this template? I'm not seeing it in the work app smart sheet. So how does San Diego get involved in this, Britton? How do you add them in?
Kelly, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Are you able to answer that question?
So right now, we have 4 campuses in the chancellor's office onboarded. We have the ability to onboard campuses built in, so it's very easy to add campuses then to be able to use it. The chancellor's office financially has funded this project for the benefit of the campuses, really. So it's trying to not drive CPDC initiative, but more what the campus might need. And so we have another wave rolling out for a few campuses, Humboldt, San Marcos, and someone I'm missing. So if you're interested in getting this rolled out, contact me and we can do that.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I would say, just given the timing of this hour, Jeremy, I do see some really good questions, and I would really like it if you guys emailed me and Kelly, copy both of us so that we can respond to you. And I promise you, we will get you the right answers, maybe today, if not Monday.
Perfect. So we will, the chat actually saves because I'm recording. And so Brendan, we'll go ahead and I'll send those to you and then you can respond to the campuses for their questions. Sound good?
That's perfect. Yep.
Awesome. Britton, thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. And Carly, do you want to take us back to the slides? Well, great, Britton. Thanks again. Kelly, thanks again for all your hard work on that new smart sheet tool for CSU construction management. How many folks, just by a raise of hands, real hands, not virtual hands, know about Simplest? A couple people do. Tim does. Good. I'm not seeing many hands. Simplest is a great tool that we've been using ever since I've been here. As you can see, for the new student union there in Fresno, actually probably not so new anymore, but we were able to use their final 2.7 and a lot of the information for Simplest. BNR to actually build out BNI to build out like a magazine article about this project. So not only does it help them, but it helps us because you're actually be able to go into the design cost data and see, well, if I want to build a student union, but I want it built in Chico and I want it built in 2027, how much is it going to cost me? This tool actually does that. So the only thing that we need from you is submissions. If you have any construction project whatsoever, let me know. BNI will actually upload those into their system and literally generate this design cost data to help assist other campuses when they're building residential buildings, student unions, academic, what have you. So if you have a project that you'd like to feature, or really any project, just let me know, and I can for sure hook you up with BNI. Next slide. The CMAG group directory. Everybody know about this? Carly's going to actually put this link in the chat. Please check the CMAG group directory. It will be advantageous if you put your name in there, and if you see your campus and somebody's not there anymore, you can delete them too, because we want to have this as accurate as possible. And the best way to do this is get everybody involved. So please feel free to jump on the CMAG group directory hosted by Google, and we can for sure update your information there, or you can update your information for yourself.
Yeah, we did it on here as a self-serve, so it's almost impossible to keep listservs up to date. And if we use like a regular Outlook listserv, we know that those only get updated every so many months and people fall off. So if everybody can try to identify 1 or 2 people from your campus or team to just try to take charge to always make sure your team is up to date. If you have a new member or somebody drops off, just to hop in there, add them real quick, and that'll make sure that we always have an up-to-date listserv. But yeah, it's completely open source, and just like Excel, throw the information in, and then anytime we send out an email, we literally go in and copy and paste from that so that we always have the most current people.
Cool. Thanks for that, Kevin. So next slide.
Did you want to look at the question in the chat real fast from
there we go.
Just going back to the simplest tool.
Sure. Will we duplicate Smartsheet, Procore? That looks like it's the CM. From
Bob
Bob.
Schultz.
Bob Schultz. No, schematic items don't go into simplest. These are completed projects across California. We don't do schematics. We do actual completed projects using their final 2.7. Is that what you were wanting to know, Bob?
You do it when we report the completed projects.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Raydell, can we get copied on all the Q&A responses, or FAQ? Yes, we're working on that. That's a great question, Raydell. But yeah, we get a lot of questions. We've actually formed up an FAQ, frequently asked questions. Our whole team gets a lot of questions, and we answer them the best that we can. But yeah, we do have a whole list of those that we will post on the actually next slide, Carly.
Yeah, I think Rodell's asking about the Smartsheet tool Q&A.
Oh, yeah, that I don't know.
Right.
So, does everybody know about the Construction Management Info Center? We've built our own Smartsheet with all your top links, procurement links, professional organizations. You can actually even register for upcoming training sessions. My jock training sessions are on there. More information, and then eventually the FAQs will actually be on here too. So, Carly, can you throw? Actually, I'll throw the chat, the link in the chat for there. And inside of that Smartsheet tool, you'll actually be able to find, Carly, go back one, where it says Go to Learning Center. This is just a PowerPoint slide, but if Carly were to tap on that, it'll open up the next slide, which is the Learning Center right there. So you'll not only get access to the training calendar to see what training opportunities are available, you'll be able to go to CSU Learn Some Total, coordinating universities on there, Planet Bid training, and everybody's favorite training, the Red Book, the Law of Design and Construction, is on there as well. So please bookmark that. And any new employees that you might have, if you've already seen it, this is a great place to train up new employees, or even to refresh yourself on old training opportunities. Next slide. Speaking of training opportunities, as Carly was alluding to before, we've got it's the CMA SoCal chapter, ensuring your team's safety on job site training. That's coming up on March 17th. Tim, you found this one. It's free, right? I think it's free to all owners.
It is free to all owners on that. So please register in and take a look at some of the other training that come from CMAA, Southern California. They have a very robust training schedule, a lot of interesting topics on that. So free, but the content is actually very good.
And a lot of that CMA training is actually what Kevin just said in the chat, is it's free for owners. So if it's there, you might as well take it, and it's free. So. We do have a CPDC Construction Management Department 101 version 2025 coming up soon. Hopefully we get that ready and in place for the spring. It does need to be updated. I think this is the third time I've updated it since I've been here. So looking forward to that. And if you've registered for this, you probably registered for all of the CMAG Connection monthly sessions. Special shout out to Edward for our spiffy new logo on this. So if you're here, if you're working on a Friday at 11, please join us the first Friday of every month. Next slide. So we were talking about how CMAG is not just the Chancellor's office, because I could sit here and read slides with the best of them, but we need you. And this is a shout out to Monterey Bay. Do you guys like this? Because you otter, yeah, you anybody with the otter? I'm not even getting smiles, but please reach out and volunteer. We'd love to have you involved talking about projects, not only at Monterey Bay, but all of our other wonderful campuses. But please send a message, come volunteer, talk about your projects, your successes, your lessons learned. It's a safe space to talk about construction. Next slide. And now it's time for open discussion. Did anybody see Kevin's email sent out yesterday? If not, Kevin, maybe you can touch on a little bit and maybe get our open discussion started.
Yeah, again, if you guys have some topics, go ahead and throw them in the chat. But just wanted to kick off because I'm open for ideas and try to build a consensus on a plan. But obviously, as most of us know, we've got pending tariffs that are going on and off, and as we kind of know that the tariffs are kind of designed in a way to make domestic goods competitive with abroad, and doing some initial research on kind of our common goods that we have in construction. Primarily, we're looking at steel, switchgear, and lumber, but obviously there's various other things mixed in. But looking at each of those individual commodities, the value of the tariff on whether it applies or not is about the amount that it makes to put the domestic goods on par with foreign. So that could be the decision maker on who is the lowest responsible bidder, or when you're working with your general contractor on a CM at risk or collaborative design build project, on making the decision on where you source the materials from is going to be dependent on whether the tariff is there or not, on which one is cheapest. Luckily, even with the tariff, it puts a lot of the pricing kind of on par with domestic goods. So kind of worst case, we're buying domestic goods at the same price point, but there's potentially a good 10 to 15% variance between the pricing of those commodities, depending if those tariffs apply or not. So we kind of, I think, start looking at what are the strategies on making the best decision at the right time for that pricing. During phase one, one of the ideas I shot out kind of last night, just to get it out for people to start thinking about or send out to the EFOs, is we could potentially set up alternates in the bid packages. So let's say for the steel contractor, they could have an alternate for domestically sourced versus foreign. And that way we have the pricing based on certain assumptions, and then also include the assumptions, what's the country it's going to come from and what's that assumed tariff. And then once we get to buyout or even further on and get to material release, as long as we're carrying funds for that worst case scenario, we can make that latest responsible decision moment to go with whichever option has the highest probability of success. As again, since the tariffs typically aren't applied until the material is delivered, there is going to be some risk of an unknown after the time we commit to purchasing a material and the material is delivered. But if we account for that with an allowance or other set of funds, contingency or otherwise, at least we're preparing for these known unknowns. And I think that's how this is very similar but different than COVID. Prior to everything shutting down, COVID was an unknown. And then after the pandemic happened and projects started, it was a known unknown. And we were more expected to anticipate it with planning the costs. So this is one of the scenarios that it's a known unknown. So we need to actually plan for the situation of those costs. And the way we can do that is by trying to plan with different options. So those were just some thoughts on kind of early brainstorming. I want to, kick it out to the team on, what have you guys done that's been successful with navigating COVID era escalation? Because this will be very similar to that. And what conversations have you guys already had with your contractors about how and what to deal with the tariffs? So again, I want to hopefully get a preponderance of guidance out so we can be pretty consistent, but knowing that you guys in the field have probably had a lot of conversations with your contractors and have some really good ideas that we can put together and share out to everyone. So who wants to volunteer to go first?
And we just executed our kind of final NTP on our GMP on one of our projects. And in that submittal package from the contractor, they had an exclusion clarification that started out a little bit broad, in that they would not be responsible for any taxes or tariffs or whatever. And, you know, me working as a contracts person to get that less broad was kind of the step we took. So we reworked the language. I'm currently floating through the agreement, trying to find the actual language we settled on. But it was, since we know it might be an issue, we kind of just settled that it would be something that the project team and the contractor would discuss and decide, you know, if it comes into play, which contingency set we would use and things like that, and come up with the best solution. So we kind of agreed to agree later. And just so it wouldn't be so they're not responsible at all. We'll figure out a plan when and if it does happen.
And was there an assessment of the magnitude of the potential risk? And were those funds held somewhere so that if the worst case scenario happens, that it was accounted for on where that would come out of?
It wasn't at this point because the current, you know, GMP budgets are pushing it as it is. And so it was more, we know it may be an issue, but what if it's not? So not yet, technically, no.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So it looks, I mean, most of the typical trade bid packages are good for 60 days. And generally, when we get bids, we enforce in our contracts that escalation is included. This is kind of a different scenario because it's an on-off of like a large magnitude, but we're also seeing that the bids, or at least the material portion of bids for like steel and electrical gear, they narrow down the window to like 30 days to try to minimize that risk. And so I think contractually speaking, if we made it really firm in our contracts that the contractor is responsible for these costs and they agree to it, I think contractually that works. I don't think that's necessarily fair though, because that would be a potential big cost. And if they did agree to that, chances are they're building the fluff into the contract. And then if it doesn't occur, they're going to make 15% of profit. So they're kind of flipping the coin there. So I think kind of what Boz alluded to is if we can capture an allowance, and that way we're only providing, or we're only paying for the material if that is what it costs. And then the perspective to look at it is we're able to self-perform work if we really wanted to, but we can't. We're not a construction company. So if we were going to do this project on our own and we were going to order steel as OFCI, we would pay the tariff if it was delivered. So it is generally fair in this type of scenario that the contractor shouldn't just have to eat it when it's a known unknown. So balance it in. But Bob, do you guys have some strategies you're working on?
You said it pretty well, Kevin. As I've learned long ago, contractors don't absorb risk; they price it. And so asking them to take this on just means it gets built into your prices, and they doesn't mean they won't come after you if they guess wrong. So I think this is one where we'd be really smart to manage the risk ourselves.
Kevin, if I can chime in here too, I want to really stress the importance of doing long lead and early procurement on things. You're going to see first the overall construction outlook this year, even though it's cooled down a little bit, it's still very aggressive, very busy out there. And so you're going to continue to see inflationary pressures on everything. Now you add to it the volatility of a lot of people trying to time themselves on the tariff game, and better to get your orders and your places locked in early on that, especially for things like electrical gear. You know, for a lot of reasons, the electrical gear market is going to stay really tight, very long lead times, unpredictability, lots of big price swings on that. So the sooner you get your transformers in your hot little hands, the better off you'll be with that. The tariff game on here too is a little more complicated because normally it's designed to be a protectionist tactic to help our domestic industry. Here it's being driven by other factors, you know, the fentanyl movement, balance of trade issues, and that kind of thing, which means, frankly, there's a lot more negotiating room that's going to happen on it. And they could easily get imposed and then rolled back in the future. So we want to make sure that we got a pricing mechanism that if they get imposed, we can cover it. But then if they go away, we're not getting penalized by it. And so I would advocate and follow with what Bob and Kevin said. Transparency is just our best path forward on this.
See what this one says. And yeah, the contractors are pretty clever. So even like Bob said, some of the contractors will, even if they have the cost covered, unless we can prove it, they'll come back and say, "Oh, I was impacted," and cry the whole river, submit a change order for twice as much as they want, settle for 50 cents on the dollar, and pretend like they've got hugely injured. But if we can build in the language for transparency, which I know some of you guys did for escalation during COVID, we can make sure we're only reimbursing based on actual additional costs, which means that we're going to need a little more transparency at the time of bidding. So breaking out the cost of the materials and the assumptions and the alternates, and then verifying, what the cost of the actual tariffs that are applied, which luckily, when it goes through customs, or it comes in, there's pretty good documentation on what those tariffs are. So even if the contractor says, I don't know what it costs, or I can't prove it, or whatever it is, any materials coming to the US, there's going to be a finite cost of what comes in that they can provide that can be used to reconcile. And then the other thing we can do, especially for commoditized materials like steel and lumber, to verify that they're not already padding their number. If we have a general tonnage or board foot of those materials, since they're commoditized, a quick Google search or ChatGPT will give you what that material cost should be. And that way you can see, is it ballpark of that material cost with or without that tariff already imposed? And that way you can help kind of validate the bids. And then obviously the more bidders that we get, the better. If there's some bidders that only will bid with foreign goods or only with domestic, it might be a good diversification strategy to work with your general contractor to make sure that you're getting multiple bids from both. And then if there's bidders that will provide materials, both domestic and abroad, have them listed as alternates. So the way that could work is do it in the pre-qualification that we have to do for major trades, is ask some of those questions in the pre-qualification to get an idea of where do they get their materials or where they're willing to get the materials from. And then in the actual bid forms that the contractor produces for the subs to fill out, is have them break out the material costs and then add alternates for other material sources, the tariff and other items. And that way you've competitively procured those numbers that you can use to make decisions on at the latest responsible moment, or be used to create allowances that can be held between the time the contract is issued or the material is released and the time that it's delivered, which is going to be our biggest risk window.
Kevin, there's a question on what people should put into the budgets for this. My recommendation is you pay attention to your overall escalation factor and your overall contingency on here. I wouldn't necessarily increase them at this point till we get some more certainty, because I think there's still way too much negotiating room happens before the tariffs will occur. But inflation is still continuing. So for the next year, you should be carrying at least 8 to 10% for inflation, and maybe tapering down the year after, but not below 6% even 2 years out. That seems to be the best market predictor at this point. And of course, that's volatile. If you are the poor person that has stuck with a wood frame renovation or new structure, thank you, LA fires. Your cost just went through the roof. So you're going to continue to see those localized things happening in there. So you need to pay attention to particular building type stuff for your projects.
Yeah, they generally lumber, I think it's 50-50 on coming from Canada. So whatever at the time that you're doing buyout, what's the current threat of tariff on Canada would be a good number to carry. And that's why if you ask for the tariff amount as a ad alternate, you'll get the number from the contractor of what they expect, because that flat 15 or 25% or what those percentages are being floated, those might not be the actual effective tariffs when it crosses the border. So putting that assumption in there would be good. But for like early budgeting, if you're able to kind of look at your uniformat budget, break out lumber, steel, and electrical gear, and then look at what the tariff rate of where they come from. And hopefully I'm going to assemble kind of more quantitative guidance. But yeah, Canada would be lumber, steel, China, and then electrical gear, also kind of China, and I think some from Mexico. But yeah, looking at what are the big commodities. And then obviously if you have a concrete building, then that'll have a little less risk. And if you're in the early stages, that could be a factor. If you're pretty close of looking at between steel and concrete or wood frame and concrete, you could find out that even if it's a little more initial value, you're going to have less risk by going with concrete versus one of the other materials. But just some of the conversations that with the contractors.
Setting aside that conversation of which materials to use to minimize the risk, I think I agree a lot with Tim that I'd almost rather consider it as a larger escalation risk than a specific tariff risk. Because what's going to happen is if the tariffs get crazy enough, it's going to impact the economy. It's going to impact the construction market. It's going to have a complicated set of interactions.
Yeah. What else is really bugging people these days?
I just want to thank Michelle real quick for her example of language in the chat that actually does address the tariffs. So thank you for that, Michelle. I think we are good on open discussion for now, Tim. I think the tariff thing got everybody, so which is great. And that's really kind of what Kevin was touching on before, is this honeybee approach, right? The CMAG and really everybody talking about their experiences. And I think in a month from now, I think we're going to know a lot more how those tariffs are going to affect us. I know some tariffs are expiring, I think on April 1st, something like that. So hopefully by the next CMAG session coming up on that'll be April 4th, we might have a better idea of what that means to us here at the CSU. So again, I want to thank everybody on my team for participating, and thank you all to everybody who attended today. Again, share it with your team. The more the merrier, and everybody have a great weekend. Thank you.